We've just had taped up memories, and we now have with us Jackson Batchelor.
Hello.
And Sam Mason Bell.
Hello.
The first thing that I knew about this film was it was part of a trilogy. So, first of all, what made you decide to go back to the found footage kind of genre? And what made you decide to do it as part of a trilogy, whichever one is the best person to answer that?
I won't probably either of us, but I mean, I think we came up with the idea. Another filmmaker that we knew lent us this camera and left it with us for quite some time, and we thought, well, we can do something found footage with that. We hadn't been able to because we'd upgraded to a Blackmagic, and it's kind of difficult to use that for found footage stuff. But this sort of camcorder made it like a lot more possible and a lot more fun to do. And we thought, we can go back and because we've been making films where we were focusing on sort of effects and things like that, really sort of like technical, trying to get constant, different kinds of shots and everything like that. And with found footage, obviously, you can just get the camera going and just keep the action moving with the characters and stuff. And we've missed doing that because there's just a freedom in it, with that restriction, I think, as well.
Yeah.
So that was sort of when we decided to we wanted to go back and do a found footage film. It was a lot of really inspired by that, but I think we also wanted to play with that tape format of something being able to be recorded over or sort of being flawed in some way and seeing sort of remnants of what was on the tape previously and all of that other stuff. So that's why the idea that kind of came to us. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, well, when it came to the trilogy, it was kind of a case of to be honest, we were influenced by Ty West, and I think X had just come out. We knew Pearl was coming out, and we thought, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we do a similar thing? We wanted to explore the character of Jackson Hitcher. How did he get there? And then, really, it's more about, for me, it's about the payoff for the third one, because the third one is our attempt to try and do like a true crime documentary in the sense of what you'd get on Netflix, but play it seriously. When you see a lot of these like mockumentary about serial killers and stuff like that, they don't tend to try and scare you. They tend to try and have a laugh with the format. Whereas the audience knows the format so well now that you can find the points to be able to terrify them. So it was making those like foundations with Jackson's character. And personally, I really wanted to do a home movie, that kind of thing. And then when we thought about scrambling the tape with it, it just gave a bit more flexibility. And like most of our films, it was improvisation. We shot over 2 days with some extra bits in between. And it was just experiment with that new camera. And personally, I love doing at least one found footage a year. I just think it's a fun thing to be able to experiment with. It's always like people film found footage because they're trying to capture their perfect moments, whatever. But the camera picks up everything because it sees everything. And that's what I kind of enjoy about found footage, if anything.
I think found footage gives you like a window into sort of reality as well, doesn't it? Like, it's sort of like this... it can make it feel really real and really believable, and maybe that's why it was so kind of creepy for people. It was Sam's niece at the end of the film. Her parents tried to show her the film, and obviously it just cuts in. They wanted to skip the violence and stuff, but obviously we're just cutting into violence at random points, and they had to turn it off and say, "Oh, we can't really show it."
Do you have any real sort of found footage inspirations? Like what are your favourite found footage films? And did anything that you've seen kind of influence what's happened here? Anything specifically?
There's quite. I'm influenced by quite a lot of found. Obviously, the classics. Things like Cannibal Holocaust and Blair Witch. I would say this film was more influenced by those films than like other that I can think of anyway. Off the top of my head.
Because it's all about that. Again, it's about that uncomfortable naturalism with found footage and stuff like Lake Mungo, which then of course explores it more in that documentary way. That's where that kind of third part is like what they can do it, and the Australians do it so deadpan that you sort of. I like a film with found footage where you forget. It's like Punishment Park. Amazing film. We're halfway through it. Things are going so insane. You're like, how are they going to survive this. And you're like, no, wait, this isn't real. None of this is real.
Yeah.
And that's the key ingredient with found footage. You need people to be so lost that they just think they're watching footage shot at home. So for me, yeah, those films, it's I quite like Michael Haneke's use of found footage as well, and things like Hidden and stuff like that. Because again, it's that strip back, just watch and observe. And I think observation is a fascinating thing to play in found footage.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I asked the question is because the one thing that I thought about when I watched this is I kept thinking about the Poughkeepsie tapes. You know, like there's obviously it's not the same, but there's elements of this that really kind of made me think, yeah, this is like there's elements of it, especially when you know, probably not a big spoiler for people that tomorrow night we've got another chapter, and yeah, the two together, there's something about it for me that stuck in my head. Let's talk a little bit about the cast. Where did you? I mean, I know, but for the audience, how did you cast everybody that's in it?
We wanted to keep the cast quite minimal. We wanted to work with people who were good friends of ours, who were brilliant actors as well, who would be incredibly comfortable with improvisation and the kind of found footage. Because like for a lot of it, there was one car following behind, but it's just me in the car as the director and the actor as Alan, and just going back and forth with them in the scenes. We didn't really there's no looking back at the footage, it's just do we feel comfortable that we're happy that cool, move on to the next sequence. So with Chris and Ella, they're totally comfortable with that. With Pete, we'd never worked with Pete before, but Pete's an awesome actor and he had such a great presence over COVID with social media and stuff that we just kind of thought, well, let's work with this guy. He seems nice enough, let's give it a go. And yeah, he fit in quite well. Yeah. We wanted to keep it quite minimal as well. And the actors who are in it later, again, they're just local actors. These are local people that we've worked with a lot of times who we know can deliver for those small little snippets of performances.
Yeah, when we tend to think of who we're writing for when we're writing. So we'll have like an image in our mind of whether, you know, what that person can play and what they kind of would look like in the role and everything. So yeah, we tend to get casting done almost in our minds at least, really early on. Yeah,
when I used to make my films, I used to find the same thing. I almost knew who was going to be in what role, and that was who I was going to have, whether, you know, come hell or high water. How long did the film take to shoot?
The sort of bulk of the story that was in the car, that took us 2 days to shoot, but we had a sort of additional scenes with, like, you know, you saw drunk uncle in the garden, for example, interview scenes and things like that. So it comes from we've been sort of sorry, I've totally lost my train of thought now.
It's fine. We're talking about the running time. How long it took to shoot?
Oh yes, of course, yeah. So really, it was a very, very quick shoot, and those sort of additional bits only took a little bit. And part of it was actually from a holiday footage that you went on, wasn't it?
I'd had the lucky opportunity to go to California with Bella and Chris, Annabella Rich, back in 2022. Yeah, 2022. So it just made sense. She wanted to use the footage for something, but I was just kind of like, can I just use it for taped up? We literally shot it a couple of weeks before we'd went as well, so it was very fresh in the mind. And yeah, like I think it took about 13 hours on the first day. We were just constantly driving around like the central south sort of area. We knew that the forest was quite close to where we lived, so at least we knew we were literally around a circle sort of thing. So yeah, it didn't take too long to put together, unfortunately.
So you directed part one.
We directed part one.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay, sorry. I stand corrected. The Sibs directed part two. Who's going to direct the third chapter?
All three of us. This is an entirely collaborative exercise.
I like what happens here. And when are you looking to have that put together?
We hope to have it ready to screen at Romford in 2025.
Nice.
Next February.
Nice. Maybe we'll need to give people a recap on the other two. And what else are you currently working on? Because I mean, Sam, you seem to be like making like 15,000 films a year.
Well, I wouldn't say obviously.
There seems like an awful lot of films that have your name on it somewhere.
Yeah, I think I've directed 26 features, which is quite a lot. Some are good, some bad. You know. But recently been doing Final Exorcism with Cy Henty, Keely Joe Jubb, Simon Berry, and Suki Jones, and it's been fascinating. It's been really interesting. I love film, so I want to make as many films and try and explore different things and not keep it where my interests are going. You know,
Yeah.
I'm hoping to do a giallo later in the year, and it's just seeing what things interest you and what stories come together. You know, I love making films.
If money was no obstacle, is there another type of film you'd like to make?
There's been like plenty of things over time, and I mean, I'd love to do a Nightmare on Elm Street film. That would be amazing if that was a possibility. But yeah, I don't know, like, it just depends on the moment when it comes to films. I mean, I really love horror.
Yeah.
And horror has so many facets of it. It's not just one straightforward. There's always those niches within the horror, so there's always areas to explore.
Mhm.
What about you?
I'd probably make a sci-fi.
Yeah.
Other than, I mean, I love horror, but there's something magical about sci-fi that can just, it's just pure escapism to me. It would be a lot of fun to be able to build like big sets and sort of have like all of them set up so that you could go back to them and do, all of that kind of stuff. But obviously with no money, it's almost impossible to do sci-fi.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And with budget in mind, do you mind disclosing what the budget was for?
You probably have a better idea.
We have one executive producer, he gave us 250 quid, so that's that.
Yeah.
That's the cost of it. Fortunately, as you know, if you are a film production company and you've got your kit,
Yeah.
Sometimes other elements don't come into play. You know?
Absolutely.
So it's cheapy.
Absolutely. The final question, I guess, is in what other directions could you potentially take? First of all, are you able to disclose any other direction for the third chapter? Bearing in mind that people aren't going to be able to see that for a while, and because obviously they'll get to experience, and we'll talk about chapter 2 tomorrow.
And well, the way that we try to design all three of these films is that you don't have to watch them in a straight order. The first one being that it's almost like the middle film.
Mm-hmm.
The second one's a prequel to Discover Him, so
Yes.
again, any order. And the third one being a true crime. You might watch the third one first and then be like, I kind of want to see a bit more of where that started. We didn't want it to feel alienating in that regard. And because we're going to be mixing, our aim is to mix between like a lot of interview stuff, working with, we want to try and get as many of the local actors involved in this one, so it's a lot bigger cast. Plus we want to do some CCTV, more murders, there's the whole crime later.
So off the cuff, we've got to do more CCTV.
There's got to be some more
murders.
kills, it's not enough. There's an 8-year crime period is what we're considering. So the film, when it's set in 2024, it's looking back.
Right.
And so it's all that kind of reflective stuff. We want to do some reconstructions as well within the film.
Yeah.
We just want to hit all those kind of things. For me, I'm a big fan of like Errol Morris's sort of stuff in documentary. So we can get little elements of what he does so well. Again, it just adds to that believability. You want to share anything else?
Yeah. I'm quite excited about doing we want to do some reconstructions on the third film, and I think it would be fascinating to watch another actor playing the character that I've played, and sort of like working sort of through that, and that's what
Tom Lee Rutter, isn't it? We're going to get Tom.
Because of my tiny eyes.
You put those two together, they're brothers.
And just one last question for you. Do you, as your co-director, how do you find the process of directing yourself as an actor?
This is why we co-directed together, is because not to say that I would have directed otherwise, but I would hate to direct myself entirely.
Yeah.
I think that you need someone else there who can tell you, no, that's good, or that's bad, or do it this way, do it that way, because you've got an idea of you're doing as an actor and what it might look like. But
Yep.
I think you just need sometimes that clarification, that sort of other voice there to say, no, you're right, you're doing it all right.
And what end of the camera do you prefer to be?
Both. I don't know. I love acting. That's probably where I got into filmmaking from, was acting. But it's a hard one. That is really hard. It depends on the project. I'm going to say that. You want to answer that one?
Well, I make films. So.
You act as well.
I act when necessary. There's nothing beyond that.
Well, listen, thank you very much. I'm sure you'd like to go and get some sleep or alcohol or something else. We're glad you shared your films.
Offering anything?
Say nothing. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you so much for screening. Thank you.